Just over a week ago, we saw the release of the new Uncharted movie based on the critically acclaimed game franchise of the same name. Going into this movie with the casting of Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg as Nate and Sully, I was dubious, not sure whether this was going to be worth my time or not, but surprisingly, despite my issues, I quite enjoyed it overall. So today I'm going to be talking about the film and whether it's worth seeing on the big screen. I also just want to preface that I haven't played most of the Uncharted games, so I went into this completely open-minded and may have a completely different opinion to someone who absolutely loves these games. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Starting off with what I liked, the movie was generally paced very well, not being too overly long. It had enough time to tell the story it needed to tell and set up potential future installments. Although I still don't necessarily think that Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg fit their respective roles, they had good chemistry throughout, providing an entertaining experience with maybe a few too many quips. In terms of the action, I have to say that I was quite impressed, particularly with scenes involving a plane and a car, and a finale involving helicopters and two large ships. Although some of this clearly defied the laws of physics and Nathan Drake was able to pull off some very unrealistic stunt work for these set pieces, I enjoyed them nonetheless, with the obvious fact that it's a movie based on a video game sitting in the back of my mind. Leading on to my next point, the movie felt very much like a video game in the action-adventure genre, with a mix of action, relic hunting, puzzles and stealth. I'd say there's definitely sequel potential for this film, providing the film performs to Sony standards at the box office and the two post-credit scenes do a good job of teasing what's to come. Now on to some general comments about the film, the first being that it bears many similarities to Indiana Jones, with one outright comparison said by a certain character, and a certain scene where the way they visualise their journey across the world is straight up taken from those movies. I'm sure anyone who's seen the movies or played those games knows exactly what I'm talking about here. Rather than stick to the source material and make a copy-paste from one of the games, the film serves as an origin story for Nate, taking bits from the source material but also diverting and changing things. Which I quite like, to be honest, because an exact copy of the game's story would definitely put me off. Due to this, I'd say it's worth watching for general audiences, as I'm sure they'll enjoy this one, and as for Uncharted fans, if you're willing to overlook these changes in canon and accept the film for what it is, I'm sure you'll have a good time. As far as the negatives go, there are a few glaring issues with the film, especially with the characterization and the way the film treats its villains. The movie seems to have an identity crisis in terms of the villains, with Antonio Banderas initially looking promising as a believable addition to the franchise before being totally underused in the second half of the movie. This led me to care less about him as an antagonist and left me wondering why I should be bothered about his story so much. A repeated theme of the film is betrayal. The characters, yes, even the protagonists, backstab each other so much that sometimes it's difficult to root for them and it does get tiring. Yes, I know it's a staple of these kind of movies, but there's a point where it becomes too much. The characters are also very selfish, and see very little character development amongst each other, with the exception of Tom Holland, who starts off the movie as a bartender stealing from the rich, and finishes as a full-on action hero. His performance, especially in the beginning though, just reminds me of so much of Spider-Man, that I thought my worst fears were confirmed. However, he comes into his own as the movie progresses. The one thing I will say that I know about the games is that Nathan Drake tends to kill people, and based on Holland's performance, he just generally doesn't convince that that's a character he would grow into. Mark Wahlberg, on the other hand, I just don't think fits the role of Sully. It seems to me like he's just playing Mark Wahlberg, and it's not until the end that we see Sully stray from his selfish nature ever so slightly. Overall, I have to say that I actually really enjoyed the movie. I went in with an open mind, having not read any reviews and only seen the stray video title which seemed to imply a negative critical reception. As someone who hasn't really played the games, except for a little bit of the fourth one, the film convinced me to buy all of the others to see how great they are. I think this is a film that most people, especially general audiences, are going to like, and as long as Uncharted fans can refrain from nitpicking, I think you'll enjoy it too. There's even a cameo in there for you fans of the games. I'd say go see this in cinemas, although there's no rush as the film could be considered slightly generic, and if you're not overly bothered about the film, you can always wait to see it. So guys, if I've managed to convince you to go and watch this film and you want to see more, then please leave a comment down below letting me know what you think of the movie. Please leave a like, subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all my future content. Your support is greatly appreciated. Don't forget to tune in for more videos regarding games, movies and pop culture in general, and I will see you all later.